The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
At first, we, like the disciples, would probably have been indignant at James and John and their mother. But on a little deeper reflection, we will find that this is very human. Our reason for being indignant could be, oh, why hadn't I thought of that before? I could have asked Jesus, the apostles would have said, for a place at his right and left. Today's gospel is so human. And it traces us down to what we call, in today's psychological terms, the ego. The ego somehow has got a bad rap, but it is the ego which helps us survive and helps us produce and grow. The ego has been attached through evolution, through our ancestors, and it was meant to keep them alive versus tigers or other cannibals or what have you. It's a protective device. But today, so many centuries later, it still has some vestiges of trying to keep a person alive, even though we may not have the same situation, the same dangers in today's world, where we are so secure, we are so comfortable. Jesus understood the role of the ego, and therefore he did not berate John and James and their mother. He understood and he led them to something more. And this is the invitation that Jesus gives to you and me. It is true, the ego is there and it helps us. But can we move from being human to being more divine? Isn't that the whole spiritual journey? Letting go of our more human tendencies and letting God's Spirit, letting the life of Jesus, letting Jesus' Spirit fill us. And so we are invited to move from our ego to being persons for others. And Jesus puts this so well, the whole shift from being a lord to being a slave. We do not like that. We do not like that when someone lords it over us, when someone treats us as less, when our boss maybe berates us or treats us as insignificant. It is all affecting the ego, and the natural human reaction is to react back or to hit back. And what Jesus is saying is, allow yourself to be treated as a slave. Allow yourself to be treated as a servant, someone who serves rather than is served upon. This is easy to say, easy to preach about. It's more difficult to practice in everyday living. And sometimes we have victories, sometimes we fail, and we are ready to react and hit back, and we allow the ego to take center place. Let us pray during the season of Lent as we do our fasting and our penance, that we may also be able to recognize how the ego is playing in our lives and to speak to it gently. Thank the ego for protecting us and wanting to keep us safe, but telling the ego, I am now moving on to a different spiritual path. It is okay if I allow myself to be a servant, to be a slave to others. Let us pray for this grace.